I rise tonight to talk about some of our most precious resources that we have in New South Wales, and that's our forests.
Hi, Catherine.
They are a fundamental part of the landscape in this country, from the iconic eucalypts that give the Blue Mountains their name to the rainforests of my hometown in the Tweed. State forests and national parks provide us with immense social, cultural, environmental and economic benefits, and it's time to recognise that the greatest values of our public native forests come from preserving them, not logging them. With this in mind, I've been asking questions in this House since I got here about the destructive logging practices going on every day in our state forests, of the plight of our koalas, whose numbers are plummeting, our growing list of threatened species, of displaced forest creatures, including the cruel death of wombats who are being suffocated in crushed burrows. And yet rarely do I get a straight answer. In fact, once I was told to put away my violin. So I've gone to the forest to see for myself what's going on at the hands of this government, and it's confronting, it's shocking actually. Away from the public's gaze, often hidden by road buffers, is the systematic destruction of these precious places. Sustainable logging looks like a moonscape. It's a moonscape of undergrowth crushed by heavy logging equipment with solitary trees dotted over the landscape. This heavy-handed approach brings in the noxious weed of lantana, which is strangling other plants and creating an environment for bell minor-associated dieback, which is slowly killing our remaining forests. Community audits of state native forests have revealed a pattern of systemic non-compliance of environmental laws in our public native forests. And I've personally witnessed clearly marked endangered ecological communities that have been cut to the ground and tossed in a pile, of ancient rainforest trees knocked and damaged by logging equipment taking years off their life. The community has a strong and legitimate interest in ensuring that the management of our native forests is both lawful and sustainable. And as such, I've given notice of my Forestry Amendment Public Enforcement Rights Bill 2017, which will enable the public to take legal action to prosecute breaches of forestry laws where currently only the EPA or the Minister can bring legal proceedings against New South Wales Forestry Corporation. But now it appears that this government is in fact planning to legalise current breaches by drawing up new logging laws which will convert much of the state's public forests into quasi-plantations, industrialising our state forests and making it easier to take out the last of the big trees to sell as part of contracts that they've signed up to with big timber and paper suppliers. Leaked documents have revealed that the proposed rules remove the need for the most basic protection of our threatened plants and animals. Forestry Corporation will no longer be required to undertake scat surveys to identify koala high-use areas, and headwater buffers will be reduced from a thin 10 metres to just 5 metres, where scientific evidence says that they should be a minimum of 30 metres wide. Eden-style clear felling practices will be expanded to the north coast, removing the requirements to retain 60% of tree coverage and extending the areas available to this intensive logging technique. The scale of this loss to forests is difficult to comprehend, and it's even more difficult to consider that it may be sanctioned by this government. After decades of protest against destructive logging in public native forests, the agreements reached between industry, government and the community in the late 1990s were supposed to ensure the long-term survival of our forests, with no erosion of environmental values through logging. This was done in good faith, and the Environment Minister, Gabrielle Upton, should honour this agreement by conducting a genuine independent review of the proposed logging rules, and I call on this government to make a commitment to preserve our native forests before the damage is irreversible.